We are the God Culture, a group of independent researchers with no affiliation to any denomination, nor organization, nor any other YouTube channel, nor Facebook whatsoever. We read the Word and we test it, as 1 Thessalonians 5:21 tells us, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. About 2 years ago, we posited a theory which has become much stronger since, where we locate the rivers from Eden, yes, on the bottom of the ocean floor. And it's so obvious when you really see the full view and study it. No one's been able to disprove that at this point. Oh, there's someone out there claiming to have disproven it, but did they? Not even remotely. And you will see just how far they are off of reality, and even inconsistent with their own disjointed conclusions. They have no actual theory. So if you want to prove us wrong, then you better be willing and be able to posit an actual theory, not one that can't even find the very source river, the river from Eden itself. They're really just attempting to mix everyone up in confusion, as they've followed several of our videos and done that along the way. It's very obvious when you look at that channel. Now, we don't really care about them. We don't really address them. We're not even going to call them by name, but we will address one thing. Is the HIDDEKEL River named in the 5 rivers from Eden system in Genesis 2? The very same river as the Tigris River. Does the Bible ever actually say that? No, we'll show you. By the way, there are 5 rivers listed in Genesis 2, not 4, as they are all called the same Hebrew word, Nahar, river. And even go out of the way on the other channel to define that as a river, and then they go off and they find other sources which aren't rivers. Duh. It's within the same paragraph where it says there's a river that flows out of Eden, and then it says the Pison River, Gihon River. These are all identified as rivers, or Nahar is the same word used in all cases, including the very river from Eden itself, which is not a geyser, an underground spring, rainfall and snowmelt, and who knows what else, right? I mean, they will just make up whatever they want to say what they want to say, because their conclusions are erroneous across the board. We've seen them time and time again. The only thing they ever cover that's consistent is when they're copying our findings. When they go off of that, they are ludicrous in most every case. Now, we're not going to deal with all of that. We teach you discernment. You know how to discern these things for yourself. So that's all ignorance. To say that there are only 4 rivers from Eden is ignorance. There are 5 rivers, and to ignore what must be the largest river, yes, river, not rain, snowmelt, a geyser, underground spring, and whatever else they want to make up, as it must have the capacity to feed the other 4 rivers, as it is their source, the source of all 4 rivers. I know I'm simplifying this, but look, guys, this is really poor when you watch this kind of stuff. It is ignorance. To say it is some elusive form of water which one can apply however they want to force poor theory is not logical, nor coming from one who is committed to Scripture. Let's be clear on that, because that channel is not. Nahar is Nahar, river. It is not rainfall, nor snowmelt, especially since the Bible has a word for rain, which appears in the previous paragraph in Genesis 2 even. Duh. And it has a Hebrew word for snow as well, which is not there in the Genesis 2 rivers, which are Nahar rivers. See, neither of what they're calling as the sources are Nahar, and all must be Nahar rivers, all 5, not 4. It's not a geyser and a spring which must connect somehow, crossing the mid-ocean trench on the bottom of the ocean floor in the Red Sea, which they claim none of these can be on the bottom of the ocean floor. Yet they're placing them there, but hey, who knows? Of course, they're just making it up fictitiously, so who cares, right? Doesn't matter. They just want to say what they want to say. And, wait, the other source is a lake, and that's of the Tigris, and we'll show you. And 2 small mountainous rivers for the Euphrates, which is not the Tigris, by the way. And none of these are connected. Even the Tigris and the Euphrates do not connect at their source, which they must in order to fit this passage. Now, you cannot then connect those rivers. The one in Israel and the one in Ethiopia. Oh, sorry, they aren't rivers. No, they are not Nahar. No, one is an underground spring, a very small one, a very short one, which goes under the Temple Mount, essentially, the real Temple Mount, the city of David, in Judea. And the other one, all the way across the Red Sea, a geyser. And then you connect those two somehow, which you never prove. Don't connect on land. Even if you use Pangea to put them together, they still don't connect on land, so it's already ludicrous. They don't connect under the sea because they have to go through, well, the mid-oceanic trench. It doesn't work. River has to flow downhill. Water flows downhill, period. No matter how much Pangea you attempt to infuse falsely, it just doesn't work, period. Nor can Nahar be all those different sources, as this passage identifies one source, always the same Nahar, river, and only one for all the other 4 rivers, and it's, well, a river, period. It's like saying Columbus was a cloud, because, well, cumulonimbus must originate from the word Columbus, right? Because they're so similar, of course. Now, that's ignorance. There would be no doubt. Same logic. Test it for yourself. If you cannot find that river from Eden, the source of all rivers, you have no theory. Period. We could end this video here, really, but we won't, because we want to prove to you that the HIDDEKEL is not the Tigris. You know, one of our viewers said it best, and we'll leave it at this. They called that channel and what they are propagating, or really propagandizing, saliva. Thought that was funny. Having said that, there are scholars that do the same with this word HIDDEKEL, assuming it to be the Tigris. It's a bad assumption, and by the end of this video, you will know that for sure, 100%. First of all, let us start with that whole paradigm of thinking, because see, that's where this all begins. If something is named in the first chapters of Genesis, you know, the beginning, is it logical to say those ancient names must originate from things named thousands of years later, even after the flood? No. Those people, places, and even rivers and mountains are commemorating these ancient places, a common practice in human history since forever, through to today. So not rare and not a surprise, nor should we ever change and create a new paradigm based on such. It does not mean solely based on an etymology alone that they have to be those places or people, especially not when the Bible describes what it's saying. And you would have to ignore the Bible to draw those kinds of conclusions, which that channel completely does. They read it, and then they ignore it, and they go off and they'll seize on one word of the passage, such as Nahar, which they redefine, meaning geyser, lake, rainfall, snowmelt, all kinds of other stuff. Well, no, Nahar doesn't mean those things, period. That's not logic. It's not supported by Scripture. It's not supported by the Hebrew nor anything else. Take this, for instance. There are 70 places on earth named Eden. Does this mean they are all the Garden of Eden or even the land of Eden? No. Or does America, who used the name the most, qualify because it has more Edens than anyone else in modern times? No, that would be ridiculous. Visit every one of these towns, and neither is the Garden of Eden, as they may have some aggressive traffic cops as you enter the border to give you a speeding ticket maybe, but certainly no angels with a flaming sword. Simplified? Oversimplified? Oh yes, but this is the same vein of logic being applied by even so-called scholars at times. Notice I'm using early Genesis names here at first. There are two places on earth called Pison. You know, the Pison River. Does it mean they are the Pison River and that it's located in Spain and South Korea? Oh, wait a minute. Let's use the logic of another YouTube channel. Let's draw a line and connect Spain to South Korea. And there we have it. Voila! That must be the actual path. Underground, of course, unprovable, of course, and completely false, but somehow that must be the ancient Pison River. There we go, we found it! No, we didn't. That would be stupid. Let's just be honest. Of course, that would be ignorant. And certainly would not even qualify as a theory, would it? Now you know better. Discern. You can do this. What about Adam? 24 times, and all over the world. Well, he did have dominion over the whole earth, yeah, but neither of these towns is effective as a tool in locating the origin of Adam and Eve. And to use them as such would be ignorance, of course. Adam and Eve lived in ancient Havilah, according to Genesis 2, in fact, the very passages we're dealing with. Here's a really funny one, though. Let's say you started a YouTube channel in which you open every video, well, with the places that the God culture locates biblically, not you, but that's okay. We're happy that other people are finding the Philippines to be Ophir. That is wonderful. But no matter, they claim that Havilah is the Philippines. On every opening trailer, it's there. You can see it. The voice of Parvaim, and then it says Ophir, Sheba, Tarshish, Havilah, whatever. But Havilah is always there. Every video, even these ones. Of course, based on our research, that is, as we have never seen any article nor claim anywhere ever connect before us, that is truth. Ancient Havilah. And oh, by the way, Sheba, Nara, and many other things that only come from the God culture. No one else has ever written about those in the past before we existed. We cannot find anything. Happy to see it if someone can produce something, but we haven't found anything. Until our Solomon's Gold series about 3 years ago. Well, we prove ancient Havilah is the Philippines indeed. We're not saying otherwise. Yes, we stand by that. But this other channel forgets that they have that claim that Havilah is the Philippines on every trailer, and yet in their video on the Pison River from Genesis 2, which must surround the whole land of Havilah. Oops. Well, according to their theory, the Pison River is in South America, meaning Havilah is not in the Philippines, but it's in South America. Now that is bogus, unproven, not true, and we prove it is in the Philippines, so is the Pison River. But the point is, they disagree with themselves, not even consistent from their very foundation, because they ignore the Bible and spin whatever narrative they wish in whatever direction they wish, many times leading to the propping up of two communist countries very deceptively. How about the ark landing? Didn't it land on the mountains, plural with an S? Not mount or mountain, but plural. Not a mountain named Ararat. That's false. The mountains of Ararat, a mountain chain called Ararat, which is the Himalayas, we prove. Now there are 12 places called Ararat around the world, from the US to Russia to Australia to Western Europe to Armenia, of course. Does it mean either of these modern names, named long after the flood, have anything to do with determining where the ark actually landed? Nonsense. Actually, the one in Armenia propagates an occult narrative where Gilgamesh's account talks about the occultist Nephilim landing on the Mount of Salvation, which so happens to be the name of Mount Ararat in Turkey. Nice going, not scholarship. And so many times leads to the occult, and they don't even know it because they don't do their research. The Bible tells us exactly where the ark landed, and there is only one place on earth where it could have. All of these disagree with the Bible. Watch, where did Noah's ark land for details, and we prove it. Did you know there's even a place on earth called Earth, Texas? Does that mean Adam was only given dominion over Texas? Of course not. This is all flawed logic, not academic, and not scholarship. Yet it's a paradigm really thousands of years old. Dates back to the time of the, Pharisees. Yes. It's okay to begin with such an etymology. There's nothing wrong with that in research. But to apply that to names from the beginning of creation is illogical and will never lead you to the truth. In fact, one of the etymologies covered by this other channel on the Gihon says that the word Gihon comes from, two other languages that are far newer than the language of creation. Therefore, to go backwards like that and say, the Gihon comes from, these two other languages that are even dated after the time of Moses, by the way. Thus, his word Gihon is the origin of those languages, not the other way around. It's just so backwards. They're not thinking. They're really just deceiving. That's all. Last one, just for fun. There are 4 places on the earth actually named hell. Wait. Does that mean all these years we've been telling people of the danger of being relocated to Michigan? Of course not. Utter nonsense. This is a follow-up video. Thus, we are not going to reprove our theory on the rivers from Eden. Watch the rivers from Eden for that in full, part 6 of our flood series. And it is very detailed, and one of our top videos, especially the original one, part 10 of Solomon's Gold series, which posits the theory almost 3 years ago, which is why another channel picks up the topic to attempt to criticize, because they're trying to build a channel on our backs, as many have done. And we don't really care that anyone's doing that, but to do so falsely bothers us immensely. And the name of the third river, Nahar, same as Nahar Eden, the river from Eden, yes, same word, same thing, it is a river. The main river which they cannot find, and then it says, is HIDDEKEL. Now, does it say it is the Tigris? Does it say Tigris? No. Does the KJV even translate it as the Tigris in either this passage or the one other passage, Daniel 10:4, where it's used in all of Scripture, only twice, by the way? Nope, doesn't happen. Does the Hebrew say Tigris? Nope, it says HIDDEKEL. Now we'll cover that. Can an association be made between the HIDDEKEL and the Tigris? Not even remotely. Now we'll show you And we'll prove that by the end of this video, indisputably. However, then these other so-called theories ignore the obvious description here. That is it, which goeth toward the east of Assyria. Is the Tigris River east of Assyria? No. It is Assyria. It is in the center of Assyria where its capitals are. In fact, Assyria was based on the Tigris. All of its capitals were there, not on the Euphrates. A lot of people do that. Oh, the Tigris and Euphrates, Tigris and Euphrates, Tigris and Euphrates. Assyria was not based on the Euphrates. Yeah, there were some communities near it, but they were not based on the Euphrates. Their capitals were the Tigris, and there's a huge differentiation there that many miss. The Tigris is in the middle, in the center, and is actually Assyria or Ashur, which is on the Tigris. Very physically, literally, specifically, and very historically accurately proven. And we'll go through this. One can attempt gymnastics to reword this translation, but what they can't do is make the Tigris the HIDDEKEL, as it is just not there. Just look at this word Assyria, and it tells us, well, exactly what Moses meant. You know, he wrote the book of Jubilees as well, and is aware of Shem's division of territories. The word is actually Asher, you know, the name of one of Shem's sons, whose territories became known as Assyria, named after Asher, or really, it should be called in English something more like Ashers, or Assyria, because it is the same place. And we know his territory, which begins on the eastern side of the Tigris River. Nineveh, Shinar, and Ashur. Yes, the city's even named for the guy. And those were all cities that were given to him in Shem's division in directions around the earth. Though Nimrod from Ham, the evil dictator, established these areas at the time of Babel, yes, before this division took place from Noah and Shem, they were Shem's territory, not Ham's. And Ham has no claim in Shem's territory. Thus, if one of the rivers from Eden, such as, say, the Gihon River, is identified as surrounding a portion of Ham's territory, well, then that river is not in Shem's territory, especially not in Israel of all places. Nonsense. That's not logic, especially not when one claims that underground spring named after the great Gihon River. It's a great Gihon River, and you identify it as a little teeny tiny spring. Right. Which, oh, by the way, has to flow around Africa, Ethiopia, Kush. No, the empire in 9 AD is not Kush, called the Kushite kingdom. That is nonsense historically. Kush is far more ancient than that, at least 2200 BC. So you're 2,000 years off, and we'll show you maps. Not in this video, and we've shown them before. We have well over 20 maps from 450 BC all the way through to the 1800s that show that Ethiopia, or Kush, is all of Africa from east coast to west coast, including the slave coast most especially. And oh, by the way, you have to agree with yourself, because if you're saying that the slaves came from Abyssinia, that little country that is called Ethiopia today, it's fine that it is in the territory of Ethiopia, but it is not all of ancient Ethiopia as recorded by maps. But if you're saying that, then how about reading a little history and knowing that Abyssinia was actually never colonized, nor made a slave nation. Oops. In other words, if there were lost tribes there, they were not enslaved. They were not taken into the transatlantic slave route. So, again, not even agreeing with themselves. And yet another case. And maybe we'll deal with the Gihon if we get to it in another video. So, break it all down. This is not logic. To say something named thousands of years after the flood would be the origin of a river named at creation thousands of years earlier? Backwards nonsense. It has to fit the description, especially in saying that it's in Israel in Shem's territory, when it has to be around Ham's, is a major problem. Think it through just a little, just a little. It is very common that springs near rivers are named similarly, but it does not make them those rivers. And it does not turn them from saltwater to freshwater. That doesn't happen either. These kinds of reasonings are unscientific and illogical. Watch our mapping in part 3b of the Flood series coming right after this video, and you will find the Book of Jubilees never identifies the Tigris River as the HIDDEKEL. Yes, the translation says that, but that's faulty. The word in Hebrew is HIDDEKEL, and it is not the Tigris. Some will then attempt to rephrase this as saying it's not east of Assyria then. It's the eastern side of Assyria. Problem, Assyria is already on the eastern side of the Tigris. Duh. However, this too is false, as they would have to prove the HIDDEKEL River could even be there. And they cannot, because it's not. You got to find the source river first. Start in the beginning. They would have to prove the Tigris could even fit the description of HIDDEKEL, and they cannot. If Moses wanted to call this the Tigris, or similar, he would not have identified it as east of Assyria, because he knew that Assyria was already east of the Tigris in his day. There was no Assyrian Empire yet. Assyria, Ashur, is on the eastern side of the Tigris River. It just doesn't fit in any sense. The Tigris River is one of the two main rivers of ancient Mesopotamia, what is today modern Iraq. The name Mesopotamia means the land between two rivers, an occult name of occult origin. Remember that, not Bible. That's not where it originates. It's very ancient and very occult. It's the birthplace, the land of creation, the home of the Nephilim and fallen angels, and a whole lot of their lore. And it is the origin of the occult, called Mystery Babylon by the Bible, and completely rebuked in Scripture. It's all false, that all roads lead to the occult Babylon. Nonsense. The Euphrates is mentioned in Scripture 19 times, by the way, but by name, by its name, Euphrates in Hebrew and in Greek, pretty much the same. The one in Genesis 2, however, does not fit the other 18 references, as obviously, after the flood, they named that river after the great river from Eden. It is not that river and cannot fit, because its source would have to be something other than two rivers, little teeny rivers that come from rainfall and snowmelt from the top of mountains. That can't be the river from Eden, and if it was, it would have to connect to the other three rivers, which it doesn't, even through Pangea. Just doesn't work, period. However, we expected to believe the Tigris is never mentioned in all of Scripture, other than this odd or wrong association of the Tigris with the HIDDEKEL River from Eden, only mentioned twice in all of Scripture. Which, even if the word was the same, and it most certainly is not, a pre-flood river name does not originate from one named long after the flood. It doesn't work that way. It's backwards reasoning, not logic. And by the way, is this river in Israel? No. So, who named it? A river The term Tigris comes from an old Persian word, tigra, with origins from the Sumerian word idigna, which means the swift river. Is either of those HIDDEKEL? No. Do either originate from the word, Hebrew word, HIDDEKEL? No. Is it a Hebrew river? No. Does this Tigris or Indigna sound like HIDDEKEL? No. The connection made etymologically comes long after these two names, and long after Genesis 2, long after the flood even. And still, they don't connect. It doesn't work, period. To take those more modern words and attempt to go backwards and connect creation with things long after the flood is nonsense, which are not even named HIDDEKEL in the first place. That's really ridiculous. That's not a position. Now, why are we showing a lake in the background? But let's get right to the heart of the matter. There is a river that flows from Eden. Nahar, river, not rainfall. Nope, not snowmelt. No, not geyser. No, not underground springs. Well, you get my point. Whatever I wanted to say, right? Because that's really what they're doing. Wrong. No one gets to do that with Scripture and get away with it. Not in our arena. And if they want to enter our arena in debate, then they better bring something that is actually debate, because this is no debate. This is a whooping. Frankly, we would call what is done in that video negligence, truly. What is the source of the HIDDEKEL River from Eden? Same as the other three branches. The source river, Nahar, river, actually has to be a larger river than the others. The river from Eden itself, which you cannot ignore. What is the source of the Tigris River? Does it match? Not even remotely. This is absolutely ridiculous. The Tigris begins in Lake Hazar, which is located in the Taurus Mountains in Turkey. The lake measures 14 miles at its maximum length and has a maximum of 3.7 miles. The source is located in eastern Turkey, about 16 miles from Elazig, and about 50 miles from the origin of the Euphrates, meaning they don't even have the same origin. You can't mix these two rivers. Yes, they flow into each other right by the Persian Gulf, but that does not make them the same river. They are not. They have different sources. Oops. Does this match the Bible? No. Can a lake which originates from rainfall and snowmelt, as it does, which is indisputably the source of the Tigris River, can it be a river? No. A lake is a lake. Now, yes, Nahar can be a lake. We admit that. The Salt Lake, called the Dead Sea, the Salt Sea, is called Nahar. Okay, so Nahar means a body of water, but is a little spring a body of water? Give me a break. There's a Hebrew word for spring. It doesn't work. Is a geyser? No, doesn't fit. None of this works. Is rain? Is snowfall? No, doesn't work. Doesn't work on any level. Give the Bible credit here. Saying it disagrees with itself, because it would have to, in order to take that one word that's appearing in that passage in the same paragraph many times over as meaning one thing one time and something else all of the other times. That's just nonsense. That's not Bible interpretation. That's someone who doesn't believe the Bible and is trying to use it to steer people in other mixing directions of deception. Oh, and for those trying to claim the Tigris and modern Euphrates are two of the rivers from Eden, their sources, again, 50 miles apart. They are not the same, and no, those cannot be the same source. As you can see from these three geographical charts, the Tigris originates right here in this lake. The origin of this lake is also not the river from Eden, But as you see in the middle, many small tributaries from the tops of the mountains in that area all flowed down, very, very small ones, but all flowed down and feed this lake. Saying the Tigris is a river from Eden is to say the river from Eden is snowmelt and rainfall. And the Euphrates also has two sources, not even just one. Two very small rivers which flow down from the mountains in its area 50 miles away from the Tigris, also originating in rainfall and snowmelt, not the river from Eden. So one would have to say that rainfall and snowmelt is the river from Eden in order to find these two rivers as rivers from that river, period. And it's not connected to the Tigris, so it doesn't even work. It's a false paradigm. No, two rivers and one lake, all originating from rain and snow, is not the river from Eden, which must be a larger river, Nahar, than any of the four rivers, period. Let's look at scripture on this. Genesis 2, verse 10. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into four heads. All four branches are branches from one Nahar, river. One source, not whatever one wishes to make up. Okay, let's look at this word Nahar. Stream, river. Underground streams. Oops! They can be underground, and that would mean they can be on the bottom of the ocean floor by definition. Oops! Now, a stream, including the sea, expectation, the Nile, Euphrates, etc., all rivers. It is interpreted as river 98 times, which is 82% of the time. It's also interpreted flood, streams, riverside, which is really river. So flood, streams is really river. So really, flood is the only odd one here, which we'll address. So it's a river, and it's one river, according to the passage, not disconnected, not disconjointed in thought, redefining the word into whatever one wants to make really ignorant points, because when you do that, you're really in a whole realm of nonsense. Nahar is not rain. Never, not one time. And the Hebrew word for rain is used in Genesis 2. So nope, not it. Is it snow? Nope. That has a Hebrew name and used in Scripture as well many times. Not once is Nahar used to identify rain and snow melt. Is it a spring? Stream, not spring. Such as the Gihon springs. No, that is not Nahar, nor ever identified as such in Scripture. Nope, that has the word to in Hebrew, and it is not Nahar. Are they reading the Bible or something else? Is it a fountain or geyser? Nope, that is a Hebrew word too, and in application many times in Scripture. Are you kidding? It just doesn't work. These sources cannot be the river from Eden, and the Tigris River cannot be a river from Eden because it is not fed from the main source river. And even larger problem, see, one thing that will lead to gross negligence in Bible interpretation is pulling out a fragment without even bothering to understand the context. Just a few verses earlier, Genesis says there was no rain on earth yet. Oops. For there was a mist that went up from the earth which watered the earth, and that watered the face of the whole earth. So massive problem. The Tigris is sourced by rainfall and snowmelt. It has to be the river from Eden. Therefore, they're saying the river from Eden is rainfall and snowmelt. Now, both of these are precipitation, so they're really saying the same thing. One's just in a pure form and the other frozen form, essentially. Yet, precipitation hadn't even occurred at the time of these two mentions. No rain, no snow, no Tigris, nor Euphrates rivers. They don't exist because their sources don't exist. It doesn't work. Same problem with what they call the Pison River, which does not fit their own claim at the beginning of every video of the Philippines as Ophir and Havilah. The Pison must surround Havilah, therefore completely inconsistent because they place the Pison River in South America. Really inconsistent and deceptive. But this stuff is not really that difficult. You can discern this and you can see through these false channels yourself. This is a nice stopping point in which we will cut off here and upload a second video, which firmly identifies the Tigris River in Scripture. Yes, the Bible actually identifies that river indisputably 27 times. This is not a mystery. There is a Hebrew name for this river, and it is no mystery. It is never, ever, ever the HIDDEKEL River. That is nonsense. Uploading right on the heel of this video, as it's already ready as well. Don't miss it. Then, Shem's directions from the book of Jubilees will follow where he divides his territory in Asia. Initially, between his sons, and it mentions the HIDDEKEL twice, and we will prove that is not the Tigris River, period. These guys have difficulty even reading Scripture and sticking to it, whether alone actually testing the mapping to see if their false theory of HIDDEKEL being the Tigris even works, which that mapping will destroy as completely illogical and biblically and historically. That group is illiterate. They are not following the Bible. They do not seem to even intend to wish to follow the Bible. Let's not pretend. Thank you for watching our Flood series. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the bell, share this video with others, and check out our website at thegodculture.com. You can support us on Patreon if you feel led as well. It is extremely helpful because of our Patreon supporters, especially. We have been able to offer conferences in the Philippines and usually for free without registration. We thank you all for this support. Next ones are coming in big areas: Davao, Cebu, Bacolod, and of course Manila. Stay tuned and go to our website, both to register and make sure that you do, and also for updates and details. thegodculture.com. Remember to like us on our new Facebook page. Remember, we are not affiliated with any other Facebook page but this one, The God Culture, space, original, because we are the original channel to prove the Philippines is Ophir and the Garden of Eden. We also are the first to find Noah's Ark and many other things. Make sure you register on our website for those conferences, though. Always remember to prove all things for yourself. Yahuwah bless all.